Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 3rd of January, now it's 15 to 6 in the afternoon, Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my second update in which I will share several latest reports of Russian media and also latest report of Russian Defense Ministry on progress of special military operation during the previous 24 hours. In few hours time, I will upload additional update on Rumble, new episode of Telegram reports, and if you are watching this video on YouTube, please consider to join our community on Rumble. Also, you can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. To generate additional interest towards Rumble channel, I do this program, Telegram reports. Today I will upload 7th episode of it, and towards the end of the working day I will have yet another update, this time for Patreon, for our Patreon community, and in a new episode of Informal Talks for Patreon I will share my take on future development of the channel, and of course I will share additional information that will be reported by Russian media this afternoon and evening. That's been said. Well, day is quite busy, but well, it is what it is. And now let's talk about news. And first of all, breaking news for this moment, which is that devastating terrorist attack that took place in Iran, in city of Kerman several hours ago. According to some reports, two explosions did occur, huge explosions, and right next to a cemetery in Kerman city, where Iranian General Qasem Soleimani is buried. And according to latest reports from Iran, 103 people are killed and 141 is wounded, although numbers are changing constantly. Explosions were immense, and unfortunately casualty numbers are increasing as time goes by. Very tragic development, of course, and unfortunately there is quite a risk that even though for this moment there was no official statements from Tehran, there is a risk, in my understanding, that Iran may blame Israel or Israeli proxies in this attack. And if that's the case, then of course this development will further increase intensity of confrontation in the Middle East, and further increase risks that region will eventually end up in a regional war. Let's hope this is not the case, but unfortunately, as time almost on daily basis, we have more and more indicators that Middle East is heading towards the regional conflict. I remind you, dear friends, that few days ago, Israel conducted strike. According to several sources, Israel conducted strike on Lebanon, on capital of Lebanon, Beirut, where leaders of Hamas organizations were killed, military wing of Hamas, Al-Qassam brigades, and Hezbollah, Lebanese political and military organization, already made the statement that they will retaliate for the strike, although Lebanese government did ask officially leadership of Hezbollah to maintain as much as possible itself, not to get involved in full force, in full scale with in confrontation with Israel, because of course full-scale war between Lebanese Hezbollah and Israel will be devastating for both parties, and one may clearly understand the position of Lebanese government. Of course, they don't want entire Lebanon to become a target for Israeli Air Force and Israeli defense forces, for IDF. And also of course, we all know that U.S. military warship did open fire in the Red Sea against Houthi rebels, and several fast boats with Houthi fighters were destroyed. And all this is happening in just last several days. Also, in today's first update, I did reported that Iran did send its warships in the direction of into Red Sea, which is yet another indicator that things may escalate very rapidly in the region, and any accident may become a trigger for a regional conflict. And unfortunately, I'm afraid the world is closing into the point when regional conflict will be inevitable to avoid. Seems like certain forces in Israel and the Western ruling class is determined to provoke regional war, and I did said many times before in my updates why, in my understanding, Western ruling class will provoke regional war in the Middle East. And first explanation is that, yet again, in my opinion, is that Western ruling class, of course, is in a cold war with China, with the rest of the world, let's say. But first of all, of course, with the China and the global South, and they will provoke regional conflict in the Middle East in attempt to cut off China from energy sources of the Middle East. And I remind you that almost all oil and gas produced in Middle Eastern states are shipped through Persian Gulf and Hormuz Strait, and main importer of energy from the Middle East is of course China. So I'm afraid we have no optimistic development news or reasons for optimism when it comes to Middle East, and there is a very high chance, very high risk that Western ruling class, together with Netanyahu's government, with the government of Israel, will eventually provoke regional war in the Middle East, which will devastate not just this region but also entire world. One should always keep in mind that this region is so important for world's energy security, world's economy, and so much interest is based on this region when it comes to superpowers, let's say US and China, that there is a high risk, of course, that any regional conflict in the Middle East may trigger even global confrontation between the nuclear superpowers. Let's hope things will de-escalate, but unfortunately we are receiving on daily basis extremely negative news from this region. Of course, if any updates from this region, I will share additional information on my Telegram and in next updates. Now let's talk about Ukraine and special military operation. According to RIA Novosti, Russian aerospace forces conducted strikes in Kharkov on a point of concentration of foreign mercenaries, and even though at this point we don't have precise information about number of casualties among foreign mercenaries, I guess sometime in the future we will receive some information about it, and of course I will share it on my channels. Also very interesting, and by the way, today also Russian military channels did reported that explosions were heard in Dnipropetrovsk, or Dnipro as Kyiv regime is called this city, also in Kherson. So Russian armed forces definitely are continuing methodic destruction of Ukrainian armed forces and logistical and military infrastructure of Kiev regime. Next information is also very important in my understanding, because it does highlights what kind of humans really are Western so-called elites. TASS news agency is reporting that official representative of head of EU diplomacy, and of course head of EU diplomacy is Borrell, Joseph Borrell, and his representative, someone on the name of Peter Stano, was asked today about EU's position or position of Borrell on recent strikes by Kiev regime on central parts of Belgorod, intentional basically strike on civilians. And this individual, Peter Stano, did said that his reply was that Ukraine has a right for self-defense. And that's it, really. No sorry for casualties, no regrets that this terrorist attack took place, nothing like that. Response is that Ukraine has a right to self-defense. If killing civilians has anything to do with any type of self-defense. But yet again, we all are familiar with this sentence, isn't it? And we did hear this sentence many times before in regards to Israeli actions against Palestinian civilians. All the actions of Netanyahu's government and Israeli forces basically are justified by this sentence that in case of Israel has right for self-defense. Yet again, if killing civilians has anything to do with any type of defense of anything. But yet again, that's a face of real rulers of the West and their puppets in governments of Western countries, and of course in the leadership of EU bureaucracy. That's what they are, really. They don't care about lives of ordinary people. If anything, they may want even more civilians to be killed. That's the attitude that they have anyway. And of course, Russian Foreign Ministry did reacted on these statements from Brussels, and Maria Zakharova, official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, did said that Brussels basically, EU basically legalizing everything illegal and immoral by this attitude towards crimes, war crimes and crimes against humanity that are conducted by Kiev regime. And who can argue with her, with Maria Zakharova? She is absolutely correct. EU definitely is trying to legalize war crimes, because direct intentional strike on civilians is a war crime. And in Belgorod, in central part of Belgorod, if you did see videos that I did share, for example, on my Telegram channel, and of course many other sources also, independent sources and channels also did share video and photo from central parts of Belgorod, you can clearly see that there is no military installations there. There is no militaries there. It's a New Year's Eve, and people are shopping and preparing for New Year's celebration. It's a purely civilian area, and exactly this civilian area, central parts of Belgorod, was struck by Kiev regime in attempt to kill as many civilians as possible. And they use cluster munition exactly for that purpose, to kill as many civilians as possible. And Brussels, EU, unfortunately, I mean, day in, day out, confirms that they are, these Western so-called elites, they are basically bloodthirsty animals that don't care about life of ordinary citizen, life of civilians. And also interesting and important news in my understanding, TASS news agency is reporting that head of foreign Ministry of Poland did made quite significant statement today, and he called basically collective West, NATO member states, to provide Kyiv regime with the long-range missiles so that Zelensky and his criminal associates will have opportunity to strike deep inside Russian territory. Yet another call for war crimes from a Polish foreign minister. But, well, from Warsaw, I mean, we are not surprised to hear anything, really, because Polish elites are sick with Russophobia for decades, really. It's a disease that's untreatable. It's a disease that's untreatable, and unfortunately, not just Polish elites, but significant part of Polish society is also sick with this disease, with Russophobia. This is an unfortunate reality, and our, members of our community from Poland can say their opinion. Am I wrong? I'm not, because that's true on the ground. Polish elites, significant part of Polish society are sick with Russophobia, and I mean, nothing can be done to treat these people, because I am not sure if xenophobia can be treated. I don't know. And what is unfortunate, what is even more unfortunate, Zelensky and his associates will probably receive additional parts of supplies of long-range missiles, drones, and so on. It is what it is. Now, let's talk about report of Russian Defense Ministry on progress of special military operation during the previous 24 hours. And well, according to Russian MOD, on Kupiansk direction, units of West Group of forces of Russian army, supported by artillery, repelled one local-scale offensive of assault groups of 115th Mechanized Brigade of Armed Forces of Ukraine, close to Sinkovka, Kharkov region. When it comes to Sinkovka, on Kupiansk direction, of course, we all are familiar with this village, with this name. It's a hotspot for quite a while, and it seems like Kyiv regime has I don't know, some for Kyiv regime this settlement has some strategic meaning, because they are trying to hold on to this settlement as long as they can, and I guess already hundreds and thousands of Ukrainian soldiers have been killed and wounded in battles for this small, one will say, not really relevant in strategical terms, settlement. Well, if that's a decision of Ukrainian armed forces to fight for this settlement until the last second, then okay, that's their will, and I believe Russian air forces will help them to find the last stand in this settlement. I expect in next several days huge volleys of airstrikes, missile strikes, artillery strikes on Sivkovka. This settlement probably will be erased from the ground. That's how it's gonna be. That's what is happening on the line of contact, where Ukrainian forces are trying to hold on to undefendable areas. Let's see if my reading of this picture is correct, but I believe in coming days Ukrainian side will lose hundreds of soldiers in Sinkovka. Just mark my words. Let's continue with the Defense Ministry's report. So, according to Russian MOD, as a result of local-scale skirmishes in Kupiansk direction, Ukrainian armed forces lost more than 35 military personnel, 3 motor vehicles, and 1 Polish-made Krupp self-prepared artillery system. Well, intensity of clashes are quite low, at least for now, but as I said, just give it a couple of days, and I believe Russian armed forces will significantly intensify missile, drone, artillery, and air strikes on Sivkovka until Ukrainian units in the settlement will be neutralized completely. That's how it's gonna end, basically. In Krasny Liman direction, the Tsant group of forces of Russian army and artillery conducted strikes on points of concentration of manpower of Ukrainian armed forces and the hardware near Chernova Dibrova, Lugansk People's Republic, and Serebryansky Forestry. Well, Serebryansky Forestry is constantly hotspot on Krasny Liman sector of the front line. This is northern side of Seversk. This Serebryansky Forestry. It's even Serebryanka settlement here, village, and that's name from this forestry comes from, I believe. And well, according to Russian Defense Ministry, as a result of clashes in this direction, Ukrainian armed forces lost up to 40 military personnel, 2 motor vehicles, as well as 1 D-30 howitzer. Significant decrease in activity in Krasny Liman direction. If we compare current data to data that we had like a week ago, let's say, but I believe it's only a matter of time, matter of days, and clashes between the sides will intensify significantly in this area, especially in direction of Tarskoe, in direction of Yampolovka, Terny, and dear friends, if you remember, I did share in morning's update information about destruction of tank platoon of Ukrainian armed forces. This incident took place in Terny direction, not far away from Terny, on the right bank, as I understand, of Zherebets river. So you can say, if that's the case, then it's obvious that Russian forces are very close to Terny, because to strike this tank platoon of Ukrainian armed forces with Leopard 2, A5 or A6, Russian side was using FPV drones and ITGMs, and range of ITGM is 3, 4, 5 kilometer max effective range. So Russian forces are basically right next to these settlements, Terny, Yampolovka, Tarskoe. And in upcoming days, probably we will see significant activization of clashes between sides in this direction. And also Russian forces are increasing pressure from southern side of Seversk. Main hotspots, of course, are Vysyola and Razdolovka from the southern. On the southern flank of Krasny Liman direction. Let's continue with the Donetsk sector of the front line, usually most active sector on the line of contact, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, units of South group of forces of Russian army with support of operational tactical aviation and artillery inflicted damage on manpower and hardware of Ukrainian armed forces near Bogdanovka settlement, Krasnaya settlement, Klishevka, Andreevka, and Kurdyumovka directions. This is all Bakhmut direction. Basically, all these settlements, some of them are on the northern flank, like Krasnaya or Ivanovskaya. This settlement has 2 names, or Bogdanovka. This is, of course, Bakhmut direction. Bogdanovka is the northern flank of Bakhmut, Krasnaya or Ivanovskaya central part, and when it comes to Klishevka, Andreevka, Kurdyumovka, it's the southern flank of Bakhmut. Russian forces increasing pressure on Ukrainian military personnel in this area, and basically anytime some breakthrough may happen in these directions, breakthrough in Russian favor, because Ukrainian armed forces have no even slight chance to conduct any successful offensive operations in any sectors of the front line. That's how it is. And well, let's continue. According to Russian Defense Ministry, in Donetsk sector of the front line, as a result of clashes between the sides, Ukrainian armed forces lost more than 310 military personnel. As I said, usually most active sector on the line of contact. So in Donetsk sector, Ukrainian armed forces during the previous 24 hours lost 310 military personnel, also 1 tank, 2 US-made Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 9 motor vehicles, 1 Stab B howitzer, 1 D-20 howitzer, and 1 D-30 howitzer, as well as 1 electronic warfare station. So quite a big number of casualties on side of Ukrainian forces in Donetsk sector of the front line. Next is South Donetsk sector, where East group of forces of Russian army with support of artillery repelled 3 local scale counteroffensives of 127th Territorial Defense Brigade of Ukrainian Armed Forces in Priyutnae area, Zaporozhye region. In addition, Ukrainian manpower of Ukrainian Armed Forces and hardware have been hit near Novomykhailovka and Urozhaine, Donetsk People's Republic. Well, when it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front line, well, Novomykhailovka, one of the, of course, main hotspots, is here. And according to some reports, Russian armed forces are already inside this village and establishing control over the eastern part of this settlement. And when it comes to Urozhaine, this is Vremovsky salient area. This is the Urozhaine here. And as I said many times before, Staromayorskaya and Urozhaine, Ukrainian units in Staromayorskaya and Urozhaine are in extremely difficult situation, and these 2 settlements may end up under Russian control at any time, really. At any time. That's how difficult situation for Ukrainian forces are in this area, because they have nothing to hold on to. These settlements, as a result of intense clashes between the sides, are almost erased from the face of the earth. But I guess at this point, Russian general staff don't think it's necessary to conduct large-scale offensive to establish control over these several settlements in Vremovsky salient area, like Urozhaine, Staromayorskaya, Makarovka, Blagodatnaya or Niskuchная. And that's why at this point we are seeing basically local-scale skirmishes between the sides, no significant offensive operations on part of Russian forces. Ukrainian side is unable to conduct any offensive whatsoever. And according to Russian Defense Ministry, in South Donetsk sector of the front line, Ukrainian armed forces lost 115 military personnel killed and wounded during the clashes in previous 24 hours. Also 2 armored fighting vehicles, 3 pickup trucks, and 1 Gvozdika self-prepared artillery system. Next is Zaporozhye sector of the front line, where units of Russian group of forces with support of artillery inflicted losses on manpower of 65th, 118th Mechanized and 128th Mountain Assault Brigades of Ukrainian Armed Forces close to Rabotina, Verbova, and Lukyanovskaya, Zaporozhye region. So this is Orekhov bridgehead, of course, we are talking about. This is Zaporozhye sector of the front, and this is Orekhov bridgehead. And the main hotspots traditionally are Rabotina, where situation for Ukrainian forces becoming more and more desperate as time goes by. This is Verbova. In both areas, Russian forces are conducting local-scale operations, local-scale operations. And what was third settlement? Lukyanovskaya. Lukyanovskaya, maybe that's name for Novoprokopovka. That's a Russian name of... I don't know where that Lukyanovskaya is on the line of contact. Because many settlements have these 2 names, one Russian name, one Ukrainian name, it's easy to confuse. But anyway, Rabotina and Verbova is known to all of us. This is Rabotina here, and this is Verbova. In both areas, Russian forces are conducting offensive operations and increasing pressure on Ukrainian units. According to Defense Ministry's report, in Zaporozhye sector of the front line, during the previous 24 hours, Ukrainian units lost 55 military personnel, 3 armored fighting vehicles, and 2 motor vehicles. And lastly, Kherson direction. Units of Russian group of forces supported by artillery inflicted losses on manpower of Ukrainian armed forces on the right bank of the Dnieper River near Teginka, Ivanovka, Sadovaya, and Tokarevka settlements. Up to 50 Ukrainian military personnel were killed and wounded during the previous day. Also, 2 armored fighting vehicles were destroyed, 3 motor vehicles, 1 Buk M1 anti-aircraft missile launcher, and 1 D-20 howitzer were destroyed. Well, missile troops and artillery, as well as drones of Russian group of forces, have engaged 1 hangar with aircraft munitions, 1 ST-68 radar station for detection and tracking low-altitude targets, deployment points of foreign mercenaries, and Kharkovshina National Formation close to Kharkov, 89 artillery units in firing positions, manpower, and military hardware in 134 areas. So, in 134 areas on the line of contact, Russian armed forces were conducting strikes during the previous 24 hours. Also interesting news that air defense forces of Russian army intercepted 8.U missiles during the previous 24 hours. Also 2 S-200 anti-aircraft missiles. These missiles, S-200s, were intercepted over the Black Sea, if I'm not mistaken, while they were approaching Crimean Peninsula, as well as 34 HIMARS and Olha and also Vampire MLRS projectiles were destroyed. And 15 Ukrainian drones were also neutralized. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield during the previous 24 hours. I hope you will find this update interesting. And if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and share video with your friends. It will definitely help to reach wider audience on both channels, on both platforms, YouTube and Rumble. And if you think this project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram, and also, of course, on Patreon is useful, interesting, informative, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon channel. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.